Welcome to Dr. Mensch, the radio show that takes a real, compassionate look at mental health from A to Z. Join child and adolescent psychiatrist Dr. Gil Lichtshein each week as we explore topics that matter: autism, ADHD, anxiety, depression, OCD, schizophrenia, behavioral challenges, neurodevelopmental disorders, and more. No stigma, no judgment. Just honest conversations, new therapies, breakthrough treatments, and real solutions for real people. Mental health is not a weakness. It's a treatable medical condition, and help is available. Join the conversation now by calling the studio at 888-994-4995, Studio A. This is Dr. Mensch, where hope and healing begin.
That's good.
Good afternoon. This is Dr. Gil Lichtshein, aka Dr. Mensch. I've been away for a couple weeks. I'm back, and I'm a board-certified child and adolescent psychiatrist in Boca Raton, Florida. My office is located at 7100 West Camino Real, Suite 404 in Boca Raton. My phone number is 561-300-4052. Today I have a return guest who's been on the show now multiple times, the big honcho himself, Freddy.
How are you,
welcome again to the show.
I got a question for you. Right off the bat, my son wrote to me, big sports fan, because I know we're going to be doing basketball. Conspiracy theory. The networks placed the Cavaliers and the Knicks coming for the finals before Game 6 even started. Now they're saying that there's a fix.
I mean, I always wondered if, some element of, conspiracy theories, or that, if certain outcomes, like in professional wrestling, the outcomes are predetermined, or ahead of the match, the particular wrestler is told, okay, you're gonna do this or do that and lose or win, from a, can imagine from a ratings perspective, the NBA probably would prefer the Knicks in the finals in Cleveland.
True.
No matter who is going out of the West, I mean, Oklahoma City and San Antonio are small market teams. So, from a rating standpoint, Cleveland against Oklahoma City doesn't, raise as much excitement as it versus New York against, again, Oklahoma City or San Antonio. At least you got, a Knicks marquee team versus like Cleveland Cavaliers. Like, LeBron James, but otherwise, like, what was Cleveland known for? Nothing. I mean, to me, I grew up in Chicago, call it the mistake on the lake. So, yeah, there's always some thought about, conspiracy theories or things kind of rigged or fixed. Obviously, Adam Silver and none of the commissioners of other sports leagues are going to always admit like things are fixed. But, the Dodgers winning back-to-back World Series and then doing what they're doing with signing all these top players, and on paper they have some sort of super team. How does Major League Baseball allow that? Football with back with the day with Tom Brady, and did he get the right calls? I mean, there's always talk about, like in the NBA, about superstars getting the calls that other players don't. Is that part of like some sort of fix, or that they want certain players to succeed to promote the brand? I mean, perhaps, but again, if you went up to Adam Silver and asked him to his face, are things rigged? He's obviously not going to tell you, oh yeah, certainly everything's rigged, or we want to make sure that the Knicks or the Celtics or or the Lakers make it at least to deep in every year in a playoff run.
Who was there last year? OKC and Indiana?
Yeah.
Two small market teams?
Yeah, I didn't particularly
Nobody watched
I didn't watch it.
Nobody watched it. I think they learned their lesson.
You know, yeah. You know, obviously from a ratings perspective, you know, you're going to want like Knicks, Lakers. You know, in baseball, I mean, ideally Dodgers, Yankees. I would love, you know, a Subway Series like back in 2000, like Mets, Yankees. That'd be awesome. Or Cubs, White Sox. You know, granted, you may not get the national ratings, but certainly if you had like, you know, Mets, Yankees, yeah, there's a Subway Series that will attract national attention. But like Mets, Dodgers, like it was in 2024. I mean, I watched it, even though
I went to the game.
Well, you went
I flew to New York.
Really?
To watch the 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Met fan, but you know, obviously, New York Yankees are in the World Series. I'll watch the World Series. So, obviously, from you know, Stanley Cup, you got Colorado and Vegas. You know, they're not historically like NHL like. You know, they're not like, oh, the Chicago Blackhawks and New York Rangers or Toronto Maple Leafs. You got the Montreal Canadiens and the Buffalo Sabres. I'm sure, you know, the NHL probably would prefer the Canadiens to beat Buffalo tonight.
Now, who's ahead in that series?
It's tied, Game 7 tonight in Buffalo. And then the winner of that will play Carolina. So I think from a ratings perspective, the NHL probably would be hopeful to get a Canadian team, you know, and maybe the Canadian team in the NHL in the Stanley Cup Finals to be the first Canadian team in 30-plus years to win the Stanley Cup. So from a ratings perspective, you know, the Montreal Canadiens were in, you'd probably get a good share of, you know, Canadian TV, although I'm sure people in Ontario, like the Maple Leafs fans, hate the Canadians, but they still might root for them because they're from Canada.
And Montreal back in the day was a powerhouse.
Yeah, they were a powerhouse in the 60s and 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah.
Then they were still good in the 80s and made, I think, they won a Stanley. You know, they were the last Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup in '93.
Yeah.
And then they kind of tailed off, and then now, I think they made the Stanley Cup final in that COVID year. What was it? 2020, or was it? No, it wasn't 20. It was the following year, 2020, 2021, where the NHL realigned all the divisions, and so they had all the. I remember they had all the Canadian teams in one division, and then they had like teams on the West Coast in one. This way to limit travel, and the Canadians made it to the Stanley Cup Finals against Tampa because of this realignment of divisions. But I think the Canadians were like a 500 team, and they just got hot and made it through the playoffs. But
what about, is it Vegas Knights?
Vegas Knights and the Colorado Avalanche. That should be a good series. But again, from a historical standpoint, like Colorado, Vegas. I mean,
now Vegas used to be a different team.
No, they're an expansion team.
Expansion team. Okay. Yes.
So.
And they have a cup.
They won it. Yeah, they beat the Panthers 3 years ago.
Put that whole thing together. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that should be fun. Okay, I got some other questions, some rumors. So now they're in the NBA, you know, they're always looking for the trades that might be, and LeBron may be out of LA coming to New York. Makes no sense to me. Why in the world would they even print anything like that?
Well, I mean, LeBron, if he came to the Garden, I mean, the Mecca of, I mean.
But he's old, he's done.
I mean, he's 40, I mean, he'll be 42 in the beginning, you know, like in the first few months of the next NBA season.
He's a free agent, right?
He's a free agent. I mean, even though he's old, he still averaged, I think, like 22 points or 23 points this past year. I mean, not bad for a 41-year-old. I mean, he came to the Knicks. Obviously, it's Jalen Brunson's team. You know, could the Knicks would have to be creative and somehow having to accommodate his salary, unless, you know, LeBron does like a Shohei Ohtani and defers or takes a major pay cut. But the Knicks would have to make some, you know, roster moves. Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to be traded. He would look good in a Knicks uniform.
I hear he's going to Miami.
Although, you know, coming to
Pat
Miami,
Riley wants
I mean, the Heat would probably have to package probably Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
My guess is Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, their 13th pick in this year's draft, and probably another first round. I think they have a protected first round that they got in a trade like in 2030. So they're going to have to give up. I mean, if they had, let's say, they got Antetokounmpo, and then they have a front court of Antetokounmpo, Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, unless they get rid of him, Jaime Jaquez, and their backup point guard. I'm forgetting his name, but that's not bad. I mean,
I think
another possibility of who could come to Miami, Kawhi Leonard.
Yes, that's another one.
Another possibility, but the Knicks, Giannis in a Knick uniform, yeah, he would look good.
Yeah, but I think you have to give up Cat and,
Probably Cat
and
would be,
Bridges.
I don't have a problem.
That's what they want.
I don't have a problem with Mikal Bridges. Was he worth 5 first-round picks? Hell no.
He's not. But the thing is, if Bridges keeps doing what he's doing on the scorers of the other team, I'll forgive the problem.
Yeah, I mean, the Knicks have something good. Listen, Bridges, Josh Hart, Deuce McBride, Jalen Brunson, Landry Shamet, OG Anunoby, obviously Cat, who's had a good he's had a good playoffs. And even what's his name, Jose Alvarado. I mean, they got and Mitchell Robinson.
Mitch is a free agent. I hear he may go to the Lakers.
I would, he can't.
How do you keep him though?
I mean,
money.
The guy's a rebounding machine, and he,
Defer money.
And he's like, I don't say he's like a Rudy Gobert, but he's a menace in the middle. He can't shoot free throws, but again, Mitchell Robinson is not expected to put 10, 12 points a game. It's like, okay, 4, 5, 6 points a game, 15 boards, 8, 9, offensive rebounds, a couple block shots. That's what he's there for.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, after the NBA Finals ends, I think the finals begin the 3rd, and if it goes 7 games, I think the latest it ends is something like the 19th or 20th, and then like 2 or 3 days later is the draft. So, literally the minute the finals end, I mean, especially if it goes 6 or 7, but even if it ends in a sweep, the minute the finals end, all it's going to talk about is, who's A.J. DeBonsa or Darren Peterson, who's number 1, who's anybody going to trade up, trade down, and then once the draft's over, then they're going to talk about, okay, could Giannis be traded on draft night for picks? Who knows? And then after the draft, then I think free agency is like July 1st, and everybody's gonna be like, okay, Giannis.
Yeah.
Does Kawhi Leonard get traded? Who? Other potential free agents.
Well, it's interesting that the way the whole thing is laying out, that you see who got the first pick, Washington.
Yeah.
There was much debate about that as well, because they didn't think it was fair that Washington should have gotten the first pick.
Well, I think they're the first team with the worst record to get the number 1 pick in several years.
So they did. So it did work.
So it did,
The tanker.
But I think the commissioner has come up. I don't know exactly the new proposal, but for next year, that the draft lottery there's going to be, they're incorporating some sort of anti-tanking measure so that teams who kind of are, maybe not written on paper, but unwritten rule, like they're tanking, that they're not going to be rewarded with greater possibility of getting the number 1 pick, that they're actually they're going to try to even the field so that even teams in the lottery with the better, have better records might have a better chance of getting a top 3 or 4 pick, as opposed to right now, like the Heat, for example. They were in a lottery, but the likelihood they were going to get the number 1 pick was like, I'm not saying 1 in a million, but was unlikely. They wound up with the number 13 pick.
How many teams were in the lottery?
I think 14. It's like the team,
So 14
the teams
worst
who did not make the playoffs.
Got you.
So
how did the Knicks end up with the 8th pick?
Knicks don't have.
Or the 9th pick or something like that?
No, I know Oklahoma City has a 12th pick because it's through Oklahoma City through Shai Gilgeous-Alexander trade. They're reaping benefits.
Got you. The Knicks had the 23rd pick, I think.
So you have like, how did Atlanta? I think Atlanta has like the number 8 pick. Well,
And they made the playoffs.
It's because I think it was related to last year during the draft. Atlanta and New Orleans swapped number 1 picks, and New Orleans gave, Atlanta their first pick, and it depended on like where it fell. That if it fell in a certain area, Atlanta would take it. So
Right.
Atlanta has like a number, like Oklahoma City, the rich get richer. They have, I think, 3 first-round picks in the draft.
Wow.
Between their own and through the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander trade from like 5 years ago. They're still reaping benefits from it.
So hopefully these teams that are drafting it hold on to the assets. Stop trading them off for something
Like,
more.
here's the thing, like, Utah's number 2, Washington's number 1. Most people think that the first pick is either going to be A.J. DeBonsa from BYU or Darren Peterson from Kansas. So some are thinking Utah might want to take the local boy, A.J. DeBonsa from BYU. So and that Washington goes down to number 2 and takes Darren Peterson. There's not a big drop-off. So there's been some, I've heard some talking about could Washington be open to moving down 1 and go from 1 to 2, but then get some more assets from Utah. Okay, we'll trade our number 1 for your number 2, but we want like another second-round pick or a future first-round pick. And so
just to get the kid from
and
Utah.
be like, Utah could get the kid from BYU to stay local, and Washington will get Darren Peterson. That's not a big drop-off.
It's crazy.
But then they can get some more assets. But Washington is a team, I think, to watch out for next year because they tanked. They got the number 1 pick. And let's say they stay number 1 and take A.J. DeBonsa. They have Trae Young, Anthony Davis.
Oh, they got Davis
And they have
too.
Alex Sarr, who's up and coming. So and if they get A.J. DeBonsa, that's a freaking like pretty damn. If Anthony Davis stays healthy, and he's not like 80 years old. I mean, he gets injured like an 80-year-old. Because I don't think he's ever played more than 70 games in a season in his career, or maybe
Really?
once. He's always injured, but I think he's only like 31 or 32 years old. He's not that, maybe. He just seems older because he's always hurt. But if he's healthy, Trae Young, who knows? That could be a team to kind of look out for. Maybe not next year, maybe the year after.
These teams, when they draft the rookies, they sign a rookie contract? Is it like the NFL, 5 years?
Yeah, I think they sign. I think like in the NBA, like if you're a lottery pick, you're like guaranteed at least X amount of money. If you're like a first round pick, like let's say not a lottery pick, but like the bottom half of you're guaranteed X amount. So if you're basically like these A.J. DeBonsa or Darren Peter, man, either one of them, they're probably going to wind up. Let's say DeBonsa's number 1 pick with Washington. He's probably going to be signing a contract where he'll be making like $40 million or $50 million a year. I mean, that's almost like a guarantee.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
I can't believe how much
These
money.
kids, yeah, but here's the thing now. I don't know if this is the case in college basketball, but in college football now, like here was a case of, he was in Miami Dolphins camp. He was an undrafted rookie. And he announced his retirement. He's like 22 years old. You know what? Now with NIL money, think about it. You're a college. I'm not saying you're like Arch Manning or some generational talent where you're making like $10, $15 million a year in NIL, but
Right.
let's say you're a good college, athlete, like not top, elite, but let's say middle of the pack, or let's say top 10, 15%, you could sign and get a good NIL deal with a school, say for several $1 million. And then, let's say, you stick around in college for, let's say, you can't leave college in football after 1 year like in basketball.
Right.
You got to be there at least 3 years. So let's say you stick around, let's say for all 4 years, and let's say you've made $20 million in NIL money over the course of 4 years.
Right.
And let's say you invested it wisely and you didn't like start spending it on cars and all this other stuff. And then you're like, okay, I might be a late first round, maybe a second round pick. I'm not going to get this like 5-year, $100 million contract with $80 million guaranteed. Maybe I'm getting, a 3-year, $30 million contract
Right.
with $5 million. Let's see, do I risk my career, or I made $20 million in college with NIL? You know what? I'll do something else.
Not
Like
even
I'll
as a-
retire and not play, college pro football. Imagine if let's say NIL existed when he was in college, and let's say, he was a 4-year starter at Alabama and or Texas or wherever, and let's say he collected $25 million in NIL money, and he was a first-round pick, but then he got all this money, but how many concussions has he had? That's potentially risks
Very
his
dangerous.
career,
Yeah.
risk his life. He might be a vegetable, 5 years from now. He who knows? Versus coming out of college as a 20 or 21 or 22-year-old, and you've already made 20 million or 25 million in NIL. Like, do I want to continue playing football where the only money that's guaranteed is the guaranteed money in your contract?
Correct.
I could tear my ACL or my Achilles or get a concussion or some other injury, and I could be out for the year and get cut, and boom,
You're done.
and I'm done. Or get a career, ACL tear, and I'm done for the year, and I may not be the same after. Well, I have $25 million in my pocket that I got from NIL. Let me call it a day, and let me go and really get my college degree. Maybe I want to be a software engineer, or I'll be an entrepreneur, or do something else that's not going to, risk my body and put me at risk that I could develop a head injury or break my knee or break my leg or God knows what else.
That's true, and I think that the contracts run where there are player options and
Right.
then there's a team option at the end. Is that what happens?
I believe so. And again, I don't think NBA has, in college basketball. I could be wrong, unless NIL has moved into the college basketball realm. I don't know. I'm just aware of college football. That's all I've heard of. But if, let's say, college with basketball, you're not as worried about major. I mean, yeah, you could get Achilles tear, here and there, an ACL, but the risk of any severe life-threatening injury from the NBA is not as great as NFL. Plus, if you're even a middle-of-the-pack college basketball star for, Connecticut or Florida or Michigan or Arizona, and you're going to be like a mid to late first rounder, you're still going to get a nice, contract. You might get, 3-year, $50 million, but that all $50 million is guaranteed. So that, let's say you step on the court, you play a couple games, tear your Achilles, and you're done. You're still getting paid. So, okay, for a college basketball player, yeah, may as well let me pursue my dreams. But college football, that's the one thing about, like I said, you've gotten some NIL money. Do I want to, take my chances with my life? Or, and like I said, nothing is guaranteed in NFL football. NFL, only thing guaranteed is the guaranteed money in your contract, but if you signed a 10-year, $200 million contract, $50 million guaranteed, I'm not saying that's not chump change, but that's the only money you're going to get. So if you, played 5 years and then all of a sudden develop some gruesome, like Joe Theismann-like injury where your career is over, that 10-year, $200 million, you just have your $50 million and you're done.
You can put your money on a bet that I think the average years in the NFL is only 5 years. No?
Right. So I think that what we're going to start seeing with college players in football is, you might see players 23, 24, 25, I'm retiring from the NFL. And you go, oh, what the heck are they doing?
Because of the NIL money?
But if they got NIL money in college, it's not 50, 100, 200, 300 million dollars, but still, when you're a 19, 20-year-old kid and you're getting paid $2 million a year, that's a lot of money.
I saw the Jets cut a place kicker to make room for a receiver. And this kid was not signed. He's independent, what they call that?
Undrafted.
Undrafted.
Or
$18,000 they paid him. What is that? I never heard of that number before. $18,000, and they cut him. And he had to make the team. That's why he can't make the minimum. He had to make the team first. All right. I think we covered it. Let's go Knicks, baby.
I think we've talked a lot about, the current state of sports, and excited about the New York Knicks, Cleveland Cavaliers. Signs are pointing out that, maybe heavenly intervention, that the Knicks are going to the NBA Finals.
All right.
This is Dr. Gil Lichtshein, a.k.a. Dr. Mensch, signing off today, Monday, May 18th. I wish everybody a good week, and until our next show, enjoy. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us for Dr. Mensch with Dr. Gil Lichtshein, helping you navigate the world of mental health with clarity and care. If you or someone you love needs support, you're not alone. Treatment works and recovery is possible. To schedule a consultation or discuss non-medication therapies, personalized treatment plans, or psychiatric care, contact Dr. Gil directly at 561-300-4052 or visit docgil.com. You can catch us each week on South Florida Oldies Radio and streaming across all social platforms. Until next time.